This is the Oakwyn Podcast, featuring Morgan Brown and Michael Yu.
Welcome to the Oakwyn Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Yu, and we have a very special guest with us this morning, Connie Buna. How you doing, Connie?
Hey, Michael. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
And Connie is a team leader, former brokerage owner, and top producing agent with Oakwyn. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your secrets with us.
It's an honor. Thank you.
This conversation is really about, what it takes to evolve from an agent to a leader to an owner. Why don't you share with us how you got started in real estate?
For sure. Yeah. Thank you. So I got started in real estate in, a little bit of sort of like, I like to say my life is a little bit of a circuitous path.
Oh, okay.
So I got into real estate in 2008, 2009. Awesome time in the market.
Yeah. Financial crisis. Right.
And I was coming from a corporate sales environment and had bought and sold just as a consumer on a couple of 3 occasions. And I thought to myself, I could do this work. I've always been in sales, albeit in a corporate capacity.
Right.
But what would it look like to be an entrepreneur, an independent business owner? And so I took I did the coursework, and I actually did it from at that time I was living in Ontario. I was in Ottawa.
Oh, okay.
And my partner was doing her PhD.
Wow.
And so I had been working back and forth between Vancouver and Ottawa. And this was a period of time in transition for Bell Canada, which was the organization I was working for.
Oh, okay.
And so
you're in telecom?
I was in telecom, and at that time I was managing a business-to-business sales team.
Okay.
And I was the youngest member of the management team. And when they were restructuring, the business was in the process of a potential acquisition. And so when we were talking about layoffs at the management level, I just put my hand up and said, all these other people have families.
Right.
They're based here. My partner is not even living in this place. If you're looking for someone to cut, I'm happy to go.
Wow.
It was an amazing opportunity for me because I never had, I was able to be on EI during that period of time when I did my coursework.
Okay.
And I had never had that experience ever. I worked all through high school. I worked all through university. So I'd never really had just a period of time where I could just focus and study.
Okay.
And so we returned back to Vancouver in September of 2009, and I got started. I got started calling out of the phone book, literally.
Really?
Yes.
So how long was that gap where you were away from Vancouver?
About a year.
About a year.
About a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was sort of back and forth.
Right.
I'm from Ontario, so when I moved to Vancouver, it was just on a whim out of university.
So you didn't have a big network or anything to get started?
No, I didn't. I had some very dear friends that I played baseball with, softball.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to the Maple League. And and then I had some colleagues at Bell. And my very first clients were my very, very dear friends from Bell Canada who trusted in me to sell their home and help them purchase a property. So those were my very first transactions.
Sure.
And then out of that, a couple more coming from, again, my community within the softball community. But I did cold calling. I hosted open houses. I was that person that would just kind of sit around the bullpen waiting for someone to take notice of me. And I listened to the podcast that you did recently about your own trajectory, and I related a lot to that experience of just wanting to be around people so that I could hear what they were saying, and maybe they would give me, a bit of a scrap of an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you started from ground zero as an independent agent in 2008, which was a very challenging market. What actually inspired you to get started into real estate in the first place?
I have to say, honestly, I think I was just completely naive.
Okay.
At that time, I told myself a story. I wasn't a business person. I was a salesperson. I was a very good salesperson. And I was in, again, my educational experience was in, political science and literature. So I didn't have any academic background in business or anything of that nature. And so I just thought, let's give it a try. It was very, I would say it was very unstructured, Michael. I just thought, if I can get through the first 2 years of my licensing cycle, we'll see if I roll the dice again.
Right. So so you weren't, so you didn't have a long plan or anything like that. You just kind of got started.
Yes.
Yeah. That's incredible. So bring us through the first year. So obviously sitting in the bullpen, as a new agent, reasonably new to the city as well. So
Totally.
yeah. So you picked up your first clients by within your network, but then how did the trajectory go?
I was definitely the kind of kid that was a grinder. Like I was going to, at that point I was licensed with Sutton, and they offered a really robust training program. That's what attracted me to them. So I would attend training in the morning, and then I would prospect in the afternoon. And prospecting for me at that time, again, because I didn't have a ton of business acumen or background in business, I was really referencing that corporate environment where it was very much like just a dialing for dollars style of prospecting. So I was literally calling out of the phone book.
Okay.
And I was following up with people that gave me their contact information at open houses. I was organically reaching out to people within my network for coffees and lunches. Again, in reflection, without a lot of structure, but doing the right things.
Right.
And so what has happened since then is I've just, I would say I'd built the scaffolding around my natural tenacity. And so there's structure now to what I do 18 years in.
It's a method to the madness.
That's right.
Right.
But that first year I did 7 transactions.
Okay.
So I was very, very, for me, I was always looking at the month. If I could make enough money in the month that I would be able to keep going, I could keep going. And I always had one foot ready to go get another job.
Oh, okay.
I think that was part of my, maybe part of my blue collar upbringing where, again, I always worked. I had my first job at 15.
Really?
And so I always felt like, if this is not going to work for me, I'm ready to go to whatever the next thing is.
Right.
And thankfully, I never had to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So started in year 1, really grinding away, you say that you don't have some structure, but then, doing the training and then, prospecting in the afternoon, that is a little bit of a time block. It's a simple structure.
Totally.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. So where did it go from there?
So, I just recently started writing out my trajectory. And that was a really interesting experience for me. Because again, I think that, the idea of having imposter syndrome is not an uncommon experience.
Right.
And I certainly have had that. And so writing out my trajectory was really an eye-opening experience for me to see that, certainly in the first couple of years, grinding, 7 deals the first year, 10 or 11 deals the second year, third year, very, very challenging year for me. I think 5 or 6 transactions. Lots of life transitions. I got married that year and took my foot off the gas. So again, lots of cool stuff done in reflection.
Right.
And then in 2014, 15, I really started to build structure. I started to attend more intentional sales training events specific for real estate.
Right.
And that's really where my trajectory started to climb. And that was when, from a transactions perspective, things started moving toward 20, 30, 40 transactions. In a time in my life where I actually thought I wasn't sure how things were going to go. In 2015, I had my first child, and I carried our first child. And so I was working in an office at that time where it was a very expensive monthly.
Right.
And so I was very nervous. I didn't understand whether or not I was going to make any money while I was having, my baby in her first year.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be my best year of my career.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And so that was an eye-opening experience. And again, one of those experiences where I felt like, okay, I never want to backtrack from here. I always want to establish, this sort of baseline at, in that moment that was probably in the range of about 35 ends. And I was a solo agent, completely working on my own, doing everything myself.
So you didn't have any assistants?
No, I had no assistant. I had no admin. And I had no other team agents working alongside me. Around that time, I started working in partnership with an agent, but we kept all of our business separate.
Right.
So he was running his business, I was running mine, but we were working together in the office. And that was a very powerful experience for me because I'm easily influenced. I try to keep really strong people around me that I admire. And I really admired his work ethic. And so working in that structured office environment propelled me, I would say. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So How did you balance all the personal family changes and the work?
I had, it was an interesting balance. I did, my spouse took time off work.
Okay.
She's a city planner. She had a nice government job that she could take a maternity leave. And so we balanced taking care of our child in that manner where she was doing lots of the at-home care. And I was bouncing in and out. And it felt, I guess you're just in the zone that you're in, right? So I felt like I was managing things well. Again, in reflection, that volume of business was very manageable for me when I think about where I'm at today. I was able to handle that and also feel like, again, you don't really know differently, but I didn't feel in any way overwhelmed at that time.
Yeah. You mentioned some professional development that you participated in. Which was the most effective? Like, what did you really take away from that?
So I took some Richard Robbins training.
Sure.
So I found that to be really beneficial. I just really liked his philosophy, and I liked the structures.
Sure. What specifically?
The business planning piece.
Okay.
So that was a really, really powerful eye opener, and it wasn't just about the business planning. It was about the planning and then the regular reflection.
Okay.
And, the idea of taking time on a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis to reflect,
right?
Which is something that I've really taken to heart and have embraced in terms of my, my kind of core activities, things that actually fill me up. I enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was huge.
Right. So when you're reflecting, like, what's the process for you? What does it look like for you?
So I like to look at wins and losses just as a general pool. I really think that the reflection of losses is an important exercise. And I'm somebody that doesn't get beaten down, right? If I lose an opportunity, I'm sad for a moment, and then I'm like, okay, every no is leading me toward the next yes.
Wow.
And how can I get in front of more people? And that opportunity was clearly not meant to be. And one of the things that I think I've learned through my professional coach and some of the other realtors that I've had in my world that I would say are strong mentors and influences to me is this opportunity to just think about what could you have done differently? Where was this just a non-starter? Like, was the opportunity just to, let's say, get information from you, or did you do everything you could? And even now to this day, as I reflect on business, there's always opportunity to do differently, to do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you took were you doing the coaching program or just some of the seminars?
At that stage, like 2015, 16, 17, I hadn't dove into actually coaching. I was still in a little bit of a scarcity mindset on the cost to benefit.
Right.
So it was mostly just taking the seminars, taking the training at different brokerages. So around that period of time, I would have been sort of involved in the Keller Williams ecosystem. And the idea of starting that brokerage was percolating in that window of time as well. And so I started opening up to, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent as a book and a guide, which, most of us have read and understand to be like an amazing playbook.
It is.
And so then attending lots of the training that was offered at the different KW brokerages in the Lower Mainland.
Right.
And then of course when our brokerage opened in Q4 of 2016, we really kind of all in embraced that training, and then we were hosting training.
Sure.
And so that was again one of those next step kind of evolutions in the business for sure.
So, for those of you that don't know, Connie was a former brokerage owner. But why don't you take us through that journey to of how that idea became and how it became real?
Yeah, honestly, Michael, when I reflect on that period of time, I
because
shake
you just
my
had
head.
a baby, and
it's like insane from a timing perspective, and also I was really inspired by and excited about the opportunity.
Sure.
I think that, my business partner at that time was very, very excited. And I really regarded him as, again, I had this identity that he was the business person and I was the personality.
Okay.
And the trajectory of that experience was a real learning for me that we were both coming to the table as business people.
Right.
We both had differences and similarities that I think really amplified our experience.
Sure.
And allowed us to create a really cool thing. But I didn't ever have a dream. It wasn't my dream to open a brokerage or be a brokerage owner. I just thought, neat. I'd love to try a new business.
Right.
Let's give it a try. Let's see what it looks like. And we sort of stumbled into this opportunity. And it was a little bit of a snowball rolling downhill, because once you're in it, you're like, okay, I'm in it. I'm still in production.
Right.
I've got a young family. I'm really learning what it even means to be a brokerage owner.
Right.
I'm very quickly learning that when you own a brokerage and you are not the managing broker,
Sure.
you're pretty substantially exposed, and your agents are exposed. And so I very quickly got my managing broker's license in 2017, so 1 year after opening the brokerage, and took on that role at the brokerage of managing being the managing broker and taking care of the transaction side of things. So, we started that brokerage with 19 realtors. We grew it to about 150.
Wow.
And we sold it at the very beginning of 2025 to another franchise owner that it was in the ecosystem. And, the real impetus to my exit was that I reached a point through that decade where I realized the brokerage side of this business is great, but it's not where I want to be spending all of my time. And it was just such a profoundly dominating experience, as I'm sure you can experience and share. And we had a different team structure. We had far fewer staff to leverage the load. And so I just found that I was working, from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. I would come home and show my wife my call log, and it would be like, I literally took 70 phone calls today. And also I'm in production.
Right.
And so I just felt like it was a really tremendous experience to learn. It accelerated my business acumen in a profound way. And I'm proud of what we built. And also through this last year of being out of that particular business and wholly in my real estate business again, I feel like the weight of 1,000 suns has been lifted from my shoulders.
You look very relaxed.
Thank you.
So you talk about business acumen. So what did you specifically learn from that experience owning a brokerage for 10 years?
So biggest learnings are don't trust anyone else to read the details. Always read the details. So it's always my responsibility to review a contract. And if I don't understand the contract, to bring it to a lawyer, to sit down, to go through it. Because that was something, through franchise agreements and, lease agreements with commercial leases, I was always like, somebody else is going to do that. That's not my part. And I think when you're entering into any business opportunity, whether you're a 1% share owner or a 50% share owner, you should be responsible to understand wholly what the big picture looks like.
Right.
So that was massive. The other thing that I really feel like I grasped was the understanding of the financials, understanding how to read financial statements and projections and balance sheets, understanding how closely aligned and similar a brokerage business is to a real estate business.
Oh, okay.
And those business models have such similarities in the way in which you financially plan and forecast, how you watch your finances and you hold your spend accountable. So those were massive learnings for me. Another massive learning was really thinking about branding and brand image. And all of the ways in which one curates and let's say holds a brand accountable, and also ensures that they're holding the brand to its standard. So those were major takeaways.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing, and a lot of great knowledge and wisdom from your experience. But let's rewind a little bit. So you went from a solo agent to a partnership or a team.
Yeah. Yes.
So like what was that process like, and kind of what were the learnings there?
So really neat experience.
In your sales.
Yeah. So in the
field.
transactions, in the real estate side of things, I partnered with another realtor who, similar era of time in the business. He was about 8 months in front of me in terms of his trajectory, but he started his business in a really structured and disciplined way. He really, I would say, was ahead of me in that period of time on his business discipline, his business planning, and his results at that time. And so when we entered our partnership, unlike lots of real estate agents that get into business partnership, we were very clear that we didn't want to muddy the waters on our databases.
Okay.
He had his database, I had my database, and we did not want to meld the two.
Right.
That was a really, really important boundary for both of us.
Okay.
We shared admin and we shared admin costs. We shared some marketing costs when we were co-branding under our team name.
Right.
And we shared the cost of events.
Right.
Those were 3 primary ways in which we leveraged our partnership. And we had a peer partnership that I found to be very, very rewarding in the way that we could connect and talk and share the wins and losses, challenge one another, be there for one another for coverage, which is really how the relationship started.
Right.
Was when we were young and starting our families. I helped him while he went away on his first holiday with his young son.
Right.
And then he did the same for me when Mael was born.
Right.
Unfortunately, that year, my father also passed away. So that was 2015. And so there was a moment in time where I really needed to just kind of unplug. I was in some pretty profound grief. And also, this was, Mael was 3 months old when my father passed suddenly. And so, it was wonderful to have somebody that I could trust to just say, okay, I have to take some time away. And can you just watch things until I get back? And so one of the things we learned through growing our team was our model was a little bit different. And I think a takeaway for agents is that there's no cookie cutter model for teams. Teams there's so many different ways to create a thriving team. At the end of our partnership, we had, a team of 10 agents. The team agents that were connecting in with us were connecting in to leverage our marketing systems and to leverage our admin and our events systems. And that was the value proposition. We weren't really a leads-based team. That's not the model that we had.
Sure. Right.
It was a great experience.
2015 was a really pivotal year for you. Just hearing your story, obviously coming from a high, your firstborn, and then your father, was that sudden?
It was.
Yeah. Were you close?
We were very close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you manage the joy and the grief?
Yeah, it was really, it was tough. I have to take a minute. Sorry, Michael, you got me in the feeling place. It was very tough. It's still obviously quite an emotional experience. But how did I get through it? You just get through it. You just do. There's no easy path. I have learned that I'm somebody that stays busy to distract myself. So that's a coping mechanism for me. And so there was, I think, a great benefit to diving into something that was so intense.
Right.
Because I was occupied almost 24/7 with a newborn baby because bless her, she was up fairly regularly through the night. And so I think that experience for me, again, in reflection, it's a bit of a blur of just like, how did I get through that? And it's like, I think that, again, it was, the grieving process is, I think there's no straight line. It's like waves in the ocean. Sometimes it's really, really intense and sometimes it's less intense, but the current is always there. It's always underlying. And so I think that throwing myself into starting the brokerage and that startup experience was helpful for me to navigate that path of grief and the intensity of my experience. Again, I have a very warm, loving, supportive family. My in-laws are incredible. Like my wife is amazing. And so I had a really strong support system. And I felt very cared for through that time. So yeah, I think that, when I think about it, in terms of a timeline, I'm like, that's insane that you did that.
Yeah.
And also, here we are.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was Dad like?
My dad he was an awesome dad. He was a musician and he was a first generation Italian immigrant. You know, he was very easy to get along with. He was somebody that was well-read and he could talk for hours.
Oh.
He was a human jukebox.
Okay.
You know, he would sit down and play anything, any song. And he would know the words and he would know the chords. So he was a real pleasure to be in his company, especially as I got a little bit older. And I think, you know, from an upbringing perspective, we had a pretty traditional family.
Right.
My mom did most of the caretaking and most of the domestic labor at home. And she also worked. My dad worked. I have 2 sisters. We're a family of 5. And so it was, you know, it was a lovely experience. And then I think also, you know, maybe he wasn't the best husband to my mom. You know, I think that there was a lot that he could have done differently, which has helped inform my experience as a parent and a partner.
Yeah. Just
to say, you know, notwithstanding the fact that I'm the person who's out and working at this moment in our life, I'm still 100% present when I'm home and helping and looking around for what needs to get done next. And, you know, there for the kids and there for my spouse so that she can also take the time she needs.
Yeah. How do you manage that with, you know, like looking at your call log with 70 phone calls and, you know, with the family and the work. So how do you structure that?
I think that was one of the things for me when I really hit the wall emotionally. I would say it was probably right through the COVID peak of the market cycle. And it was around 2023 into 24 where I was really, my heart was screaming at me that I couldn't do it anymore. We had another child in 2018. So we had 2 young kids at home. And I felt like I was away too much and too distracted. On every holiday, I was fielding calls. You know, I was taking 0 days off. And I just said, this is not the life I want. This is not the example that I want to set for my children. And so, because it was really difficult to create boundary. It really was, because I took on the responsibility of mentoring and managing those realtors that were making the decision to be a part of our organization very seriously. And so, you know, when a realtor's calling the managing broker, it's typically not for a random question. It's an urgent question.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, that was the impetus for me at that moment, was I just couldn't create enough boundary to honor the most important things in my life, which are my family. And my personal well-being. And so that created the sort of lead domino to transition and shift things.
So, you know, so how did that, so obviously, was it an opportunity that made you change the brokerage, or was it?
No, it was.
Was it pretty intentional?
It was intentional. We just got to a place where I think that I had felt like I had an idea that it might have felt easier at that stage, and it wasn't. It's a very, very all-encompassing, all hands on deck business model. And, you know, again, I think that if it was my only business, that might have been a different experience. But again, I was doing 80 to 100 transactions. And that's not with my business partner. That's like out of my database. So I couldn't do that anymore and give the care and attention that all of those pieces needed. And I knew that eventually a plate was going to drop. And so it was very much like I've hit the wall. We've talked about it a few different times through the course of the experience, but it was a very intentional conversation with my business partner to say, we need to find a way to transition out of this. You can buy me out. I'm not sure what that looks like in the early stages, but I think the opportunity that presented itself was a nice experience for just the continuity of agents that wanted to stay with the brand, to have another person within the ecosystem come in because they understood the model. At that point, you know, it was definitely while a grind, it was a profitable business. We had good great agents that were a part of the company and really proud of the brand. And so, that exit, was certainly my first experience as well, selling a business. I'd never done that before.
Right. So lots of change in 2023, 2024, 2025. So obviously, and I want to go back a little bit more to, just, it's an amazing journey, an amazing, from 7 sales to over 100 sales in that span of time, being a solo agent, newer to the city, and, scaling a business through, so I have lots of questions there, but lots of transition. So, how were you intentional about the transitions or do you think you've achieved closure on all those things?
Well, the process of closing out the brokerage was so powerful for me because I really quarterbacked that process. And what I learned through that process was I'm a very good business person. I'm very, very good at capturing the details, keeping things on track, making sure that people are understanding what needs to happen next, what we've done so far, assessing for risk, assessing for, what have we missed?
Right.
And so that process of wind up was really, really intentional. It was methodical. It was months and months and months of time spent making sure that it was done correctly. One of the things that I think I pride ourselves on, my business partner and I, we were always we lived in a sense of perpetual fear of the regulator, fear of legal exposure. We were very mindful of risk. And so as a result, we were quite careful. And so that experience for me was really, really profound to just be able to say proudly, yes, that was a substantial part of that success, of that transition and that exit was as a result of my labor and my effort.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. That shows a lot of maturity in the, in business acumen and being responsible. And, you kind of go through this hypothetical scenario life, I think when you're doing anything with those transitions and making the pivots and changes. But so I want to go back to the sales because obviously most of our audience are realtors. So obviously formulating your partnership basically as partnering in the operations of the business for the most part. So you shared an assistant first. So how was that in terms of roles, responsibilities? Were you fearful about, okay, if I share an assistant with somebody, will it be directly proportional to the amount of business? How do you manage that?
Totally. That was a really important part. So one of the ways in which I think that our partnership was successful for as long as it was that we
10
did,
years, right?
Yeah, we did lots of regular check-ins, and we our core operations. We've had 2 really pivotal admin people that were a part and still remain a part of our ecosystems. And they both were really, really diligent about the tracking. So tracking how much time each person was using, how much time the team was using.
Right.
And we also, my business partner and I had a degree of fairness with one another and transparency, where we were always wanting to check in. How are you doing? How are you feeling about this? Does this feel fair? Does this feel equitable? And I think when I think about where our partnership sort of came to a natural close was when that balance started to feel out of equilibrium.
Right.
And what I started to realize was, again, I think our volume of business changed substantially. And so I was really heavily burdening the admin team with my transactional volume.
Right.
And that balance shifted. And then I realized, because most of my time is being used with the admin for the transaction management, I'm not able to utilize them for business building.
Right.
And that therein was sort of the crux for me of the reason why I needed to be on my own and focus on my own. Because again, I think our visions of where we wanted to take the business, transactional business, shifted. And so that was, again, it's one of those pieces where, again, when it started, I just said, what are your systems? I'll take them.
Right.
And then through the process of working together, we reviewed the systems and
Improve
refined them and improved them, which was a really neat experience. And then also we've taken input from the admin people that have been a part of the ecosystem and their feedback to say, okay, like, have you thought about, what about if we managed transactions with this particular checklist? I know we have this, but this, how does this feel for you? And just, again, using all of the different people that are on the team to help build out the best system. Again, for real estate, we really wanted to make sure it was very specific to the way that we were doing business. And the way we were doing business was differing slightly as well, just in the way that we were serving our databases and our clients. And so again, that was another sort of piece to the puzzle of saying, okay, well, maybe we're better served with a separation at that time.
Like that constant communication, was that like monthly, quarterly, like, was it agenda based or like, was it pretty organic?
Early days, it was daily.
Oh, okay.
Like the early days of the brokerage, we were meeting absolutely every single day, multiple times a day. And absolutely, like we had a standing Sunday night. We would meet at the brokerage after the children were in bed, and we would work from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And that was the business building times. That was really trying to plot and plan through the week. And so we had there was some organic nature to it, as well as having some structure.
Some structure weekly.
Yeah.
So that's a great window behind the scenes, Sunday night, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Yeah.
To, for accountability, for consistency, for communication within an executive team or a leadership team. That's kind of a behind the scenes of what it takes to actually operate a $1 million real estate business and beyond, and that people just don't see, right?
I think that's a really important point, Michael, that I've really reflected on, and I think about when we think about, for example, athletes at the highest level, business people at the highest level, musicians at the highest level. You don't see the grind that occurs. I know that we're not allowed to talk about grind culture right now, but like it's real if you want to be a winner. And it's not glamorous. It's not glamorous. And it's, I think I can't imagine how we could have done it without investing that time. It feels virtually impossible.
And the sacrifices you had to make, just reflecting back, you had to make choices. And, would you make the same choices again in your same, maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe no.
I think in that age and stage of my life, it was a great decision. It was, very, very young kids. They were going to bed early. I always prioritized being with them for the important moments, never miss birthday parties. They're home for dinner in the morning, present for drop-offs, still am. And also, I think that sprint, let's call that decade a sprint, was profoundly
not
influential.
A marathon, a sprint. Sprinting for 10 years.
Sprinting for 10 years.
I don't know if you can call that a sprint.
Okay.
But
we'll call it a marathon. But that was, again, I think it was a formative experience to build my foundation. Yeah.
Wow, that's so incredible. So, obviously building in those structures, adopting different systems was fantastic. So, like, what's a successful formula for building a team then? If you were to redo it all over again.
Absolutely. If you have to set the culture and you have to set the standard, and if you don't inspect what you expect, you are bound for failure. And so first and foremost is understanding, what do you stand for? What is this team about? How do you service clients? What is your standards? What are your standards? And I went so far as to really, in granular detail, document what that looked like. From first interaction to interactions from a nurture perspective, to the tone and ways in which we deal with our clientele and our referral partners. So that is key. And I think, my partner and I used to joke that we had this analogy about, if we didn't feel like we could go camping with you, maybe we weren't in. And what that meant to us was, when you're camping, I don't know if you're a camper or an outdoors enthusiast, but it can get hard.
Right.
It can get tough, and you need to be the kind of person that looks around for what needs to get done next.
Right.
Are you somebody that arrives at the campsite and hangs up your hammock and puts your feet up? Or do you arrive at the campsite and help you get yourself set up, and then you look around and see if you can help somebody else?
Right.
Are you somebody that will go and take the last scoop of food out of the pot? Or would you offer that to somebody else? Right. So that's a
great analogy.
It was one that really anchored us. And I would say that the folks that came into our team, we had some tremendously wonderful team agents. Lots that, 3 that are still with us and with me today.
Right.
And others that for one reason or another have come in and out of the business. But it was a grounding piece to us to, again, set a standard and also ensure that there was a mutual understanding of reciprocal benefit, right? Everybody needs to understand the why. For me, for other realtors thinking about joining a team or starting a team, there was an experience of reflection where if somebody's brand new in the business, it's very hard for them to understand how hard it is to get a lead.
Right.
If you don't know what it takes and how precious it is to have that business opportunity in front of you, it can be squandered. And that for me was such an important experience that we needed to share with the team agents was if you're getting an opportunity from another realtor to partner with them to service a buyer client, support them with a listing, attend their opens and host their opens, book tours, these are all foundational pieces to learning your craft.
Right.
No clients, no tour, Michael.
Right.
You can't book a tour with no clients. So if I'm helping somebody by allowing them to help me learn how to structure a tour, that's actually a benefit. And for me, that was a litmus test. Sure. Like, I don't need your help. I can book a tour very quickly and efficiently. But if you want to help me, here's how we can learn how I set that tour up. And here's what the package looks like when we go out and, take a first client appointment. So I think that having some humility as a realtor wanting to join somebody else's team is an important piece to learn what is their system and standard. Does it feel good and align with what you want?
Right.
And then as a team leader, how does it feel to bring other people into your ecosystem?
Right.
Are they going to be representing your brand?
Did you ever have any struggles letting go of certain tasks and things like that, or were you pretty
very much so?
Yeah.
Very, very, very much so.
And being independent.
Yeah, and there's still for me, there's still, and again, this is just my team model. If you don't like it, then we're not a fit for a team. But like, I'm in all communications with clients. I'm in every single email. I'm in every single text message. Even if another agent is taking the primary role of managing the client, I am always a part of the discussion. Sure. The team agent and I are talking regularly about that client.
Right.
I'm providing oversight, experience, guidance, advice all throughout the process. And so there have been experiences with other agents where they were joining the team and they didn't enjoy that. And that's fine. Like, please fill your boots, go be an independent realtor.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of being on the same page with your values, is it like written out? Is it like very clear, or is it kind of communicated through action? Or
definitely written out.
Okay.
So it's explicit and written. And also it's something we regularly talk about. So I have it written out in our brand standards.
Sure.
I have it written on the whiteboard in our office.
Right.
And we talk about it regularly.
Right.
And it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Right?
What is it?
It's to have a servant's heart. So to always be coming from contribution. It's about, our team is only as strong as our weakest link. So working together to ensure that everybody feels solid.
Right.
For us, it's about the long-term relationships. We are not a transactional team where we're just interested in getting a deal done.
Sure.
We're interested in building a relationship, asking lots of questions so that we have all of the information we need to give excellent advice. And that's really what our brand is built on, is excellence in professionalism, in advice, in strategy, in marketing. And so those pieces are explicitly written.
Wow.
And understanding the ideas around equity and really believing in that with our whole being, and those fundamental principles that I think are a core part of my own identity and the identity of the team members that are a part of our group.
Right. And, that's fantastic, and just that right off the top, the servant's heart is, just a lovely value to have, especially in our business where, we're responsible for, effectively someone's life savings or their largest asset. So, having that attitude or that direction is fantastic. And that goes against, what you expect from a lot of agents, when you watch TV and you see, selling Sunset, they're just going for, they're maybe in it for themselves in a sense. Yeah. So that's unique and interesting. So, so how's the transition been now? I'm now former brokerage owner. Yeah. You sold the business, a successful brokerage business, and then now transitioning to Oakwyn. How's that been for you?
Honestly, Michael, I've shared this with you in the past, and I'll say it again very proudly. It's been such a amazing experience, the transition. And, I think of course, I'm coming at it with the lens of being a brokerage owner and doing these transitions for clients. And so I think I was preparing myself for things to feel crunchy and harder than they were. You have an amazing team, and every single person that I have interacted with in your operations and admin side have been amazing. And so the transition has been delightful and very, very smooth. And it's felt so nourishing. I've taken an office at the HQ. Right. I love working out of the office. I really, really enjoy that discipline of going in regularly and having a space. And I've gotten to know other realtors, of course, that I've known in the field for years, but now we're working alongside one another, sharing office, on the same floor. Right. And so that's been fabulous. It's also just been like, this was a full rebrand for me as well. So the brokerage transition aligned with a rebrand to Connie Buno Real Estate Group. Right. And I worked with 2 marketing agencies to support me through that transition. One that we spent multiple days together in workshop, helping to build the brand identity. Right. So really fine-tuning what that meant. Yeah. And then the other to help build out what the brand image and concept, so from a graphics perspective, what that all looked like. And so it's been just so delightful to align with the Oakwyn brand, which I really respect and admire. It for me exudes professionalism. It seems elegant. It feels exactly like what you give people, which is it's high quality, high service, which is exactly in alignment with my brand. So it just has felt like we're in lockstep. It feels really good.
Yeah, we're so grateful to be able to work with you, Connie. We've respected you from a distance for decades, and it's weird. It's only been about less than a year or so that we've been working together, but it feels like you're an old hat at the office now. But it's great. And just talking about the brand and the development of the brand. So, what did that iteration process look like? With all your knowledge that you have, built over nearly 20 years in real estate to kind of building your Connie Buno Real Estate Group brand fresh. So what pillars are you standing on? What what was that process like?
Well, one thing specifically, my sister is in executive marketing for a large corp in Ontario. So she's always been a really powerful influence to me. And for years and years and years, she's always said to me, Connie, you are the brand. Please stop trying to create another brand. You're the brand. And that for me was a real awakening. Right. And so part of the journey with creating the brand pillars was to think about, who am I? What do I stand for? How can the team get behind that? Right. How can we find alignment so that there's consistencies? And what are we wanting to communicate to people? There's 15,000 realtors in Greater Vancouver as part of the real estate board. And why us? Why are they choosing to work with us? There's so many amazing professionals to choose from. And so that was, again, it was just such a delightful experience to be so deeply personal, whereas previous experiences of brand creation have been in partnership and alongside other people. And so it felt a little bit arm's length.
Right.
the previous experience, whereas this feels intimate.
Intimate, yeah.
And a bit of a departure also from, let's say, the business training models that we see in real estate, where realtors are taught to have, what is referred to as the 7th level business, where your business is running, but you're not involved in it anymore. And what I realized was, I don't know that I really want that. I want my business to be very much me. And I want my clients to know that even if I'm not the person at every single showing, I am the quarterback of this team.
Yeah.
I am the heart of this team. I am ensuring oversight and strategy for every single transaction.
Right.
And so those were such fundamental pillars. And it was super fun and has continued to be really, really fun to think about really leaning into my authenticity.
Right.
So really not being shy to talk about, for example, something that I'm talking about quite a bit more is just my perspectives on local politics, national politics, international politics. It is a part of who I am.
Right.
I'm vocal about my positions. I'm vocal about my desire to learn and hear perspectives from other sides. And it's not a conflict with my brand.
No.
It is part of who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that's very brave, because I think a lot of us shy away from those opinions because we don't, we fear the consequences of being open with our belief systems, and our and something that is very refreshing is genuine takes, and like genuinely being able to communicate your feelings and your perspectives on certain issues and things that areas of that come to our society. So something that I found really interesting was, creating a bit of a niche market, creating a niche market. So, Connie is also, runs yourqueerrealtors.ca. And yeah, can you tell us about that journey?
Sure. So, I mean, Your Queer Realtors is really just sort of a side social media handle that Allison Gorman and I created just to draw awareness. A substantial component of our niche is the queer community.
Right.
And I'm so very, very grateful for the support that we have there. And there are a ton of great queer realtors in the Lower Mainland, lots of people to choose from. And so I'm very grateful that we have so many folks that choose to work alongside us.
Right.
And so that was the effort there, was so that we could ensure that we were making a specific effort to tailor some communications to that niche market that might be specific to them and important to them.
Right.
We also have made a commitment to amplify community events that are important to the creating and maintaining queer community. As you know, I'm in a band, Queer as Funk.
Yes, that's right.
And,
I wanted to get into that.
A huge part of our mission is to be intentional about creating safe and welcoming queer-centered spaces.
Right.
Everyone is welcome.
Everyone is welcome.
And it is a queer-centered space.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about Queer as Funk. So obviously you're so tell us about the.
We're in our 13th season as a band. So we are a show band. And what that means is we play all cover music. We do all of our own arrangements of covers. So we're playing everything from old school Motown classics to, contemporary music, and all genres in between.
Sure.
We really try with in terms of our music, we try to center queer artists as much as possible. And we also try to ensure that we're respecting and amplifying voices and artistry of POC artists and Black musicians who, created the foundation for much of the music that we love and respect. And so I'm one of the lead singers of the band. And it's been such a joy, Michael. As I shared, my father was a musician growing up. And so I didn't have any formal music training. I always just was like, Dad's the musician. We always played music. We always sang. But I considered myself more to be like a campfire singer.
Right.
Than the front man of a band. And so this has also just been such a beautiful experience of coming into myself and my identity as an entertainer and a musician and an artist.
Yeah.
And every opportunity to gather. Last night we had an amazing rehearsal. We rehearse once a week at least.
Wow.
2.5 hours, 3 hours. And we're like making music. That's what we were doing last night. We're working on our summer lineup, our shows that are coming up this season. And so we're playing on July 31st at the Commodore Ballroom. I hope you will be there.
I will be there. I will be there, front row, center. Yeah. So July 31st is at the Commodore Ballroom. For tickets, please reach out to Connie or myself, and we will
Live
send the
Nation.
link.
You will find it. Yeah.
So that's going to be fantastic. So what's really interesting is kind of melding your hobbies and also because real estate, it's really systems and process driven, obviously relationship driven as well. But we don't really flex the creative side of our brain in many cases. So having some hobbies there kind of balances things out.
Oh, it's certainly the. As I think about all of the ways in which we need to prioritize our time, it's for me one of the most important things that I do for myself, and it's one of the ways in which I maintain like primary friendships. Like my very dearest, best friends are part of that group, and it's an important thing. I unless I'm physically out of town, I never miss rehearsal. It's just such an important part of my week.
Yeah, that's incredible. Just to be able to have something that fills your cup outside of real estate and for you to be able to be yourself, let loose.
Yeah.
And I do that in a comic store.
Right on.
Playing Magic the Gathering. So I think everyone, needs an outlet. And I think, especially, from the outside, you see a busy, successful agent, you just think that they have it all, and it's all they figured it all out. But obviously behind the scenes, you faced some burnout in the past. Yeah. So can you bring us through like what are some of the warning signs, or like what?
For sure. So I mean, I got to a place where I think at my sort of peak burnout, where I had put on quite a bit of weight. I was, very, very unhealthy in my eating and drinking habits, in my sleep habits. I stopped, going to the gym. I've always been an athlete, like from a child.
Right.
So, I had a gym membership in high school. Like I love going to the gym and being active and being in my body. And all that stuff got pushed to the wayside because I just I needed to prioritize my family and my children.
Sure.
As a number one. And then the business took everything else.
Yeah.
And saved a small piece for the band, but there was no other room.
Right.
And so over the last year and a half, I've really just, I've reassessed and reprioritized. So that burnout experience, was like pretty major. And again, my father passed suddenly at 63, died of a heart attack. And I thought, I don't want to go down that path. And he was a healthy man.
Okay.
It was kind of random. But what I realized was your health is the foundation of absolutely everything you have. And so it's been such an amazing experience to, really completely 180 on what I was doing previously to where I am right now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So that feels like, and I think burnout is strange, right? And it was just one of these things where I feel like I hit a wall. And I just was like, I was profoundly exhausted. I was so agitated and irritated, and I was not being a good parent, and I was not being a good wife. And I think I was being a grouchy business partner. Yeah. And it was just a whole lot of not good.
Right.
And so it was my body's warning signs of my body was starting to hurt. My knees are sore. Like it was like, this is not good.
Right. Yeah. And so like, I think that hit the nail on the head. And we make this assumption that if we're, doing something for ourselves, it's going to like take away from the business or take away from our family. And I think when you're a giver, you kind of do go through these types of things. And, I think, it's a lesson that we can all learn that we got to take care of ourselves, our health.
Yeah.
Try to make better choices with things that are within our control.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of maturity, but then, I'm glad to see it, and you look great.
Thank you. I feel great.
By the way. Yeah, so, and I think it's a wonderful, learning environment. You're always kind of on this perpetual cycle of learning and reinventing, and doing this. Doing this process of growing, and which is really interesting. So, what are some? So let's say you were to redo it all over again from year one,
yes,
Connie. So, all the 20 years of experience that you had, go back to year one. Like, what habits, what things, what would you do right away? Like day one.
So day one, I would have a database.
Okay.
So it was years before I had actually something structured.
Right.
Is like a weird spreadsheet, my phone, my book.
Right.
Yeah, things kind of very chaotic. So day one, I would start with a database.
Sure.
I'm using Reach now.
Okay.
Very good tool. Anything works as long as you use it.
Right.
That's the most important thing. I would be more disciplined and braver at capturing information and asking for permission to keep in touch.
Right.
So that was also something that took me a little while to get into that flow and habit. And I would have a written business plan. So those three things. So it'd be the database, the permission to keep in touch,
right,
and the business plan, the written business plan.
Wow, that's so, yeah, that is so amazing. And, people can go through years and years and years of like not implementing those things. And they seem very basic and simple, but you'll be surprised how infrequently people have those three things in their business. And, starting at day one again, that would be great. So how does your schedule look now? How does like a day in the life of Connie look like now?
Ooh, I love my schedule right now. I get up about 6 o'clock. So my youngest child starts school at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right. So we get up early. Obviously, get everything ready for the kids at school. Most days of the week, I'm taking our youngest to school at 8 o'clock. Good. So we have that nice commute in the morning, right. And that moment of time. It's about a 25-minute drive.
Sure.
Drop her off, and I go to the gym.
Oh, okay.
And so what I've done as a new time block is I'm not taking morning appointments unless it's actually critical.
Right.
Typically trying to schedule my earliest appointment at 10 o'clock in the morning so I can get that workout in. And then my, I think about servicing business, finding new business, and managing business is like primary things of focus that I'm doing in my day. And again, lots of time spent at the office.
Sure.
I'm also somebody that likes to go and visit a client. So if I'm taking a listing appointment and a listing, even if we're going to DocuSign, I like coming over, talking to that person, making a nice connection. So I try to time block out of that time a pickup from school and dinner with the family.
Oh, that's great.
So that's an important piece. Right. And then usually, as it is often in our business, a little bit more time in the evening. But my schedule is so relaxed comparatively.
Right, to what it was
previously. Like, it's just unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were kind of doing it all on your own, so at what point would you say an agent should get an assistant or think about starting a team? Like, is there a revenue target? Is there what would you advise?
I think that, I think the first hire is the admin.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that if you're consistently doing between 20 and 30 transactions, which you can totally manage yourself.
Sure.
If it's important to you to think about what your financial life would look like with 50 transactions, that's easily achievable with an admin and the right structure.
Right.
You can absolutely add that in, easily pay for the admin, and then have, let's call it $100,000, $200,000 more of retained earnings in any given year.
Right.
So for me, and that might be enough for one agent. They might be totally satisfied with that between 50 and let's say 50 and 60 ends on your own with one admin. If you're starting to push past that, or you're feeling like your time is dominated, like if you're doing on your own 50 ends, you might feel like you're just running around like crazy,
totally, with
right?
The chicken head cut
totally.
Off,
and so I have always thought about adding a team agent as buying back your time. And so that for me was one of the important reasons why I brought I have 2 primary agents that support me in my business, primarily serving our buyer clients.
Right.
And the reason why that works for us is because our model is not, we're going to only show you 3 places, and if you don't buy something, we're not working with you anymore. Like, we'll service a buyer indefinitely, frankly, maybe to a fault. And so I just needed to be able to say, I can't be out every evening of the week.
Right.
Like it's not sustainable for me. And that's predominantly when buyers are wanting to be out and touring, evenings, weekends.
Right.
And so it was buying back my time by having that team agent. And so, again, at the net number, having the team agent involved may not necessarily be bringing you more profit.
Right.
But you might have a better life.
Right. Yeah. So you're balancing that out. So it's either like a revenue or a time.
That's right.
Category where you're able to benefit from it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to talk about, Connie, or anything you want to add?
Oh my goodness, I feel like we've touched on a ton.
Yeah, we have.
I'm just, I'm feeling so grateful for walking alongside the amazing agents at Oakwyn in 2026. I've already been a part of a few of the fabulous office meetings where you have other top producers in the office that come and share their nuggets of advice and secrets. So it's really been so cool, and it's been a delight to work just down the office right now.
Right.
We're on the same floor.
Absolutely, Connie. So thank you so much for being a part of the Oakwyn podcast, Connie. Thank you for being a part of Oakwyn.
It's my pleasure.
We deeply respect you, and we're really grateful for you to be able to run your business with us at the company. And we're so proud to work alongside of you and what you're doing within the community, within the industry, within your team, and through the office. I think your energy is infectious. Your leadership by example and your servant heart, is really kind of spreading that positive energy. And I think, don't want to get too sentimental, I think Dad would be really proud of you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And we are all proud of you. So thank you, Connie, for being a part of the Oakwyn podcast. And so Connie is performing as Queer as Funk on July 31st. So please get tickets. We'll be there front row.
Nice.
You can see Priya, my wife, dance amazingly, and me kind of like shuffling beside her. And that'll be a fantastic event. And obviously, if you want to reach out to us or Connie, feel free to do so at your leisure. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please rate it 5 out of 5 on the podcast platform you're listening to it on, and write us a review and say, we want more Connie, which would be fantastic. And if you want to learn more about Oakwyn, go to oakwyn.com/join, type into the message box Journey 2026, and you'll receive a free gift when you meet one of our leaders. Until next time, thanks so much for listening.